The Cubs have won 5 in a row thanks to a vintage outing from Kyle Hendricks and another strong pitching performance all around. The Cubs beat the Cardinals 5-1. Their 5th win in a row. They're now 7 out of 8, and they are humming. That and more on the Cubs baseball channel, including a doubleheader today. As Ernie used to say, let's play 2. Here is your invitation to our show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs baseball channel. My name is Anthony Pasquale on Twitter at ant_Pasquale3. Just a little reminder, the Cubs baseball channel is also on social media on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. So make sure to follow us on those pages, engage with us, get in those comment sections, and let us know how you're feeling about this team as they are scorching hot. Heading into the All-Star break, the Cubs have won 5 ball games in a row. That's now 7 out of 8. They beat the St. Louis Cardinals 5-1 yesterday, thanks to a vintage outing from Kyle Hendricks. The professor schooled the Cardinals yesterday, going 7 shutout innings, allowing just 5 hits, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. A tremendous outing from Hendricks. His season ERA is still pretty high, up at 6.78, but 2 really nice outings against the Giants last month, and then this strong outing against the Cardinals shows that the professor definitely still has a little bit left in the tank, and the Cubs can absolutely take everything they can get out of Hendricks. The Cubs starters have been insane this last trip around the rotation. The last 5 starts, the Cubs have gone 32 1/3 innings, allowing just 2 runs. Hendricks scoreless, Wesneski scoreless, Steele scoreless, Imanaga scoreless, and Tyone went 7 innings, giving up only 2 runs. This team is on fire defensively. Miles Mastrobuoni's making plays. Seiya Suzuki had a really strong game in the outfield yesterday. But the pitching, you cannot say enough about how good this team's starting pitching has been. The bullpen has been getting stronger. It really makes it so much easier. And the other thing that's helping, the Cubs offense, another strong performance out of the offense. Only put up 5 runs, but the Cubs had another 10-hit performance, 13 hits in the ball game. Another pair of hits from Dansby Swanson, who is starting to swing a hot bat as we get near the All-Star break. Miles Mastrobuoni, 2 hits for the 3rd consecutive game. Nico Hoerner, 2 hits for the 3rd consecutive game. Seiya Suzuki got a knock. Ian Happ, Christopher Morel as well. David Bote with a clutch pinch hit, 2 RBI double. That was huge for the Cubs to get some insurance runs late in the ball game. And the Cubs are getting it done with runners in scoring position. They got 2 hits yesterday with runners in scoring position, and the first run they scored was generated by some small ball. The Cubs had a single from Miles Mastrobuoni, a bunt hit from Crow-Armstrong. Miguel Amaya sacrifice bunted both men into scoring position, and then Nico Hoerner drove in a run on a ground out. That's how the Cubs got the first run of the ball game. It looked like that would have been all they needed. They put up 5 eventually and got into the 9th inning. Hector Neris had to come in and get the save because Hunter Biggie had some control issues and walked a couple of guys. The Cardinals ended up scoring their lone run in the bottom of the 9th, but the Cubs still escaped with a 5-1 win. This dominant stretch of baseball continues. Like we said, the Cubs starters have been sensational, and they're getting one back today as Javier Assad will be pitching in Game 2 of today's doubleheader against the St. Louis Cardinals. But it's not all good news. Luke Little was injured yesterday. They showed the replay, and it just looked like after one of his pitches, it just didn't look right coming from Luke Little. He was taken out of the game immediately. Mark Leiter Jr. came in and finished the 8th inning, but that looked a little bit scary. And he's a guy that has pitched 9 straight scoreless outings for the Cubs. So he's a guy that Craig Counsell is finally starting to trust and get into that circle of trust. But unfortunately, he exited with an injury. We'll await any news we can get on Luke Little, who is right now the Cubs' most effective and essentially the only lefty at the back end of that bullpen. Obviously, you've got Mark Leiter Jr. back Julian Merriweather, another righty, should be coming back soon. Hector Neris is back there, Hunter Biggie, Porter Hodge, etc. Luke Little is the only lefty aside from Drew Smyly in that bullpen, and if he's out for an extended period of time, that could be a huge blow to the bullpen. Hopefully, you get some good news out of Little when the reports come out later today. But on the other side of this note, Javier Assad is coming back. He's going to make his first start from being activated off the injured list as the Cubs look to try to secure a series win today against the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's do a little check-in on the division as these numbers continue to go in the Cubs' direction. The Cubs are still tied for last place, but the margin is getting much narrower. They're 8 back in the NL Central, tied with the Reds, only a half game behind the Pirates and just 3 games behind the Cardinals. Still, like I said, 8 back from the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cubs are 3 back in the National League wild card, and the St. Louis Cardinals, who the Cubs are continuing to play this weekend, are the team that they're chasing. They've now jumped past both the Giants and the Nationals. Of course, are tied with the Reds, a half game behind the Pirates, and then they still have the Diamondbacks and Padres ahead of them. But the Cubs are playing as good as baseball as anybody in the National League, and I don't know how you can look at this team and look at the way they've played over the last 10 days. They've won 7 out of 8 ball games and think, this team could do a little something. They have to continue this play. I understand that. They still have a little bit of ways to go to dig out of this hole and get back to 500 and then above 500. But the fact of the matter is, with this team pitching like this, with this team hitting like this, they look like a team nobody would be excited to play in the postseason. Obviously, you have to get there, and the numbers don't look great, but they're on the rise. The Cubs now with a 15.6% chance to make the playoffs. It's climbing every day, and a 5.6% chance to win the division, the NL Central. So we'll keep an eye on those numbers. Hopefully the Cubs keep winning and those numbers keep rising as the Cubs try to avoid selling at this trade deadline for the 2nd consecutive season and make a playoff push. Hopefully with Craig Counsell in the mix instead of David Ross, that playoff push doesn't come short and the Cubs can go into the playoffs on a hot streak like they are on right now. Doubleheader today. As Ernie used to say, let's play 2. The Cubs have 2 today against the Cardinals. It's a twin bill. The first game at 1:15 Central. Hayden Wesneski takes on Lance Lynn. Wesneski is coming off a really strong start, 6 1/3 shutout innings last time out. He's 3-5 on the year with a 3.67 ERA. He'll be up against Lance Lynn, the former White Sox, current Cardinal, 4-4 on the year with a 4.48 ERA. A guy the Cubs had a little bit of trouble with the first time they played him this season, but historically the Cubs have done fairly well against Lance Lynn. Ian Happ is hitting over 300 against him. Hoerner, 2 for 2. And then some of the other Cubs have had some success, including Patrick Wisdom, who has 2 home runs off of Lance Lynn. Then the nightcap, a 7:15 start, also at Busch Stadium, obviously. Javier Assad back on the mound, 4-3 on the year with a 3.04 ERA. One of the Cubs' most reliable and steady starters gets a chance to get back on the mound after being activated off the injured list today, up against former Oriole Kyle Gibson, who is 7-3 on the season with a 3.96 ERA. Cubs don't have a ton of experience with him. Tomas Nido is actually hitting .430 against Gibson, so I assume he'll be in the lineup in the nightcap, and Amaya will get the first game. Dansby Swanson hitting .600 against Gibson in his career. Both Ian Happ and Nico Hoerner have had a little bit of struggles against him, and this is another pitcher that Patrick Wisdom has homered off of. So I would assume in at least one of the 2 games today, you'll see Patrick Wisdom's name in the lineup card. But the fact of the matter is the Cubs are red hot, and they're going to look to keep it going today against the St. Louis Cardinals at Busch Stadium. If you can come away with a sweep of this doubleheader, you're going to head into tomorrow 1 game back of the Cardinals, likely for 2nd place in the division and a wild card spot before the Cubs go on the All-Star break. But guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Cubs Baseball channel. Thank you for liking and subscribing and getting in that comment section and letting us know how you think and how you feel about our favorite baseball team. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow, hopefully recapping the Cubs' 6th and 7th wins in a row. Go Cubs.